So then the next day, we made our visit to Apparition Hill. And so Apparition Hill is where the Blessed Mother appeared to the 6 visionaries after the first day. And I'll tell you about the first day in a little bit later. But after the first day, she appeared to them for a while at Apparition Hill. And so as I was contemplating my trip there and we saw that documentary, even though I saw the documentary, I just kind of presumed that when you went to Apparition Hill, because of the number of pilgrims that go there, there'd be an escalator or something that would get you up to the top. Not literally, but I mean a path, a clear path that would get you up to the top where the Blessed Mother appeared to the pilgrims. And this is kind of the road there. I mean, just beautiful homes and scenery in Medjugorje. And so as you're going up Apparition Hill, I don't know what the significance of this cross is, but people certainly do venerate it. And again, there was a line of people there to venerate the cross. And then this is the terrain that you're looking at going up to Apparition Hill. And so I foolishly wore black shoes and a cassock to go up there. And I thought on the way down I was going to kill myself because those rocks are really, really big and slippery. And so I wasn't really prepared for it. But I think one of the things that impresses you when you see it is that they have really made no accommodations for tourists in terms of making that journey easier. And so for those who struggle, there are others there who help, you know. And so there was one person who was disabled and he was carried up by a couple people when we were there. And it just shows you how dedicated the pilgrims are to going there, that they are willing to cross that terrain, even our pilgrims, you know. And so it was a very powerful experience to go up there. And when you get to the top, this is the site of where many of the apparitions occurred at the beginning. And the statue is not that old. I want to say it's like 10 years old maybe? 19 years old. Until that time they didn't have a statue there or a shrine. But we prayed the rosary on the way up, and Ivan led us. And when you get to this site of that statue, and just recognizing what occurred there, like I said, it's a very powerful experience to recognize that. And this is just a few views of the statue. Again, another beautiful face on the Blessed Mother on this statue. And again, she's smiling. I just like that picture because of the rays of the sunlight coming through. That was on my phone too. And then at the bottom of Apparition Hill is a blue cross. And so that blue cross Ivan put in there because there were times when they weren't able to go up Apparition Hill. And so the Blessed Mother appeared to him and them there. And so he put that cross there to commemorate that. And again, people are gathered around it praying. And I gotta say, one of the things that was memorable about Medjugorje for me is the quality of prayer and the amount of prayer that goes on there. I mean, people are just praying everywhere. And that's part of what convinces me of the goodness of what's going on there, you know, is the good works that come out of it. I mean, there's nothing evil that comes from Medjugorje that I could observe. And this is a country that was torn by civil war. This is a country that's experienced a great deal of tension and war and poverty and whatever. And yet there, I mean, I think we saw a police car one time out of the 8 days we were there. It's just a very peaceful community. And it was incredible to see that. So I wrote about this in the bulletin, and this is ultimately what has led me to this topic for this Faith Formation series. When you go to Medjugorje, you see all sorts of religious goods, stores, huts, booths, whatever you want to call them. Surprisingly, I mean, I thought most of them had really good stuff in them. Some of them, have interesting things that they're selling, but the majority of them are I really enjoyed looking through them and experiencing them. And so when you go into these religious goods stores, they have, probably all of them, have some depiction of the face of the Blessed Mother that's very familiar. If you'll see the picture in a second, but it's a picture of the Blessed Mother in a statue form that I just assumed was Medjugorje, because it seems to be the face of Mary in Medjugorje. And so it wasn't until I got there and Father Matt and I were inquiring about it and found out that that statue actually isn't in Medjugorje, it's in Tijelina, which is about 30 minutes away by cab. And so as soon as I heard that, I was actually really disappointed, because I really wanted to see that statue. And so I thought to myself, well, that's it, I'm not going to be able to go. And so I just kind of resigned myself to that reality. And then on Wednesday morning, Ivanka, our guide, tells us that we have Wednesday afternoon off. And so I thought, I wonder if there's any buses or anything that goes to Tijelina. And so Father Matt and I approached her, and she said, well, we don't have buses, but you can take a cab if you want. And so I thought, well, I don't know if I want to go by myself, So then I kind of timidly went up to Father Matt and I said, because I didn't want to impose on his free time. And so I said, hey, Matt, do you want to think about going to Tijelina? And he says, sure. And I'm like, awesome. So we actually got Yvonne's cousin to be our cab driver to take us on the 30-minute trip. There was only like $60 for the cab drive too, which I thought was pretty reasonable. And so we drove there, and it's actually a very pretty drive. It's a very beautiful country. And so I really enjoyed the cab drive there. And then we approached this church, the Church of the Prophet Elijah. And as we approached it, the parking lot was completely empty. So I just figured, it's this beautiful statue that's kind of the face of Medjugorje. And so there's going to be like 100 people there, praying before this statue. And there wasn't a soul there. And so then I had this little panic attack that we're going to get there after a 30-minute drive and find out that the church is locked and nobody's around. And so the cab driver walked us over to the side, the left side of the church, and ushered us into the church in an open door. And so Father Matt and I went in, and this is what the sanctuary of the church looks like. And so we actually came in, there's a door behind here that we came in. And so the first thing you do when you walk in is you see this beautiful statue. And it takes a while for your eyes to get used to the dark because you've been out in the sunlight. And so we walk in and see the statue. It's like, wow, how beautiful can it be, It was just an incredible experience. And I remember as I'm looking at this statue that I actually had like tears in my eyes and a lump in my throat. It was that incredible for me, and for Father Matt too. And so, it's the most remarkable statue I've ever seen. And so, and just look at the face. It's an incredible, I don't know how that artist was able to accomplish that. And at one point I just kind of tapped on it to see what it was made out of, because I expected it to be made out of some kind of plaster. It seems to be almost like a resin, or not a resin, but I'm not sure what it is, but it's not plaster. And so that made it even more remarkable to me that that artist was able to accomplish that level of beauty in that statue. And so, of course, the first thing I do is take 50 photographs while Father Matt's trying to pray. And so, but fortunately, we were there long enough that we had time to pray together. But I just kept taking photo after photo after photo, just because it was such an incredible experience to see. And but that emotional response from me was something that was very significant. And I remember Father Matt reminded me of this later, and we'll get to owls at the end of this. But it's kind of a goofy comparison, but for years in Florida, I had been looking for this owl, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of the presentation. But when I finally found this owl in the swamp of Florida, I had the same emotional response. I got a lump in my throat, tears in my eyes, and just thank God for the opportunity to be there. And that's a response that I had here, just thank God for the opportunity to be here, and thank the Blessed Mother for being so beautiful. And it's a moment that really changed my life. I mean, it really was. This whole experience changed my life. And I think part of that is because of the incredible beauty that I experienced there. And it's not perhaps beauty in traditional terms, although this experience is, but it was just this incredible encounter with beauty that I don't think I had previously. And I've been all over this country and national parks taking photographs of all these beautiful places, and none of that prepared me for this. And so it was an incredible experience. And so Father Matt and I prayed evening prayer together, and then eventually we left. And I think the other thing that was so neat about the church, and I was so grateful actually that it was just us, because being there alone with the Blessed Mother and just absorbing that experience was truly incredible. And the other thing that I really appreciated about it was that it was dead quiet. I mean, so quiet in there. And I've only had this experience a few times in my life where you can just hear the sound of everything that's going on. So like flies, because the door is open, so bugs were coming in and out, and you could hear the bugs flying back and forth in the church. I mean, it was that quiet. And so it was really an incredible experience. And so the next day, Ivan and Ivanka, that's Ivanka on the left, they took us on a tour of their apparitions. And that just added to the whole experience for me, because you got to see firsthand from one of the visionaries, what actually happened. And I just love the details that Ivan would share, because this retreat house is right by, within, a few hundred yards of where the first apparition was. And his home that he grew up in is right across the street from the retreat house. And his mom and dad are still alive. They look like the stereotypical old Europeans with the babushka on, and they're sitting in their chair on the front porch. And so I really wanted to take their picture, but I didn't want to impose on them, so I didn't ask. But it would have been a classic portrait of a typical old-style European. And so he gave us a tour of the apparitions that occurred at the beginning, and told us the story of what happened. And but just little details like, again, he was 16 years old at the time, and so he was collecting apples, because there were apple trees right by his house. And so he would take his t-shirt and stuff the apples in his t-shirt, and kind of use his t-shirt as a hammock for the apples. And he was walking back to the house, and one of the visionaries, I forget which one, called him over and said, "Hey, Ivan, come on over here. We've seen the Blessed Mother." And he's like, when someone tells you that, I mean, you don't automatically believe it. And so he takes his apples home, dumps them on the table, and then goes out to see what's going on. And then we stood at the site of the first apparition, which is basically a gravel parking lot, just a little parking lot, not far from there. And so I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I had $1 million because I'd make a shrine, because that was the first vision, the two young girls who saw the Blessed Mother for the first time in that little tiny gravel parking lot. And then after that, they went up Apparition Hill to experience the visions for a while. They actually had many visions at St. James Church, and they've had visions all over that community. And so, the three who are still receiving the visions every day, wherever they are in the world, that's where the Blessed Mother appears to them. And so Ivan tells us, he tries not to be in an airport at that time, tries not to be in certain places at 5:30 at night, because he knows that the Blessed Mother is going to come to see him. And then it talked to us a little bit about the 10 secrets. And that's the parking lot where the first vision occurred. So he told us about the 10 secrets, and so the 6 visionaries are all being given 10 secrets. And then when you ask what the secrets are, they say, well, we're not going to tell you, because otherwise it wouldn't be a secret. That's why I could never be a visionary, because I'd be terrible at keeping that secret. And so I'm a good confessor because I forget things really fast. I'm not such a good person at keeping secrets, though. And so anyways, three of them have received all 10 secrets. And the other three, Yvonne and two others, are still waiting to receive, they've received 9 secrets, so they're waiting for the 10th secret to occur. And so once all three of them have received the 10th secret, the visions will cease and the secrets will be revealed. And so I don't have a lot of information about what the secrets are. Again, they're secrets. So, there's speculation about the dire nature of some of these secrets. We've been told, as long as you're faithful, you have nothing to fear, So who knows what they are exactly, but it will be revealed when that time comes, And so that's why Yvonne is still receiving the visions of the Blessed Mother every day, because he has not received the 10th secret yet. He's received 9. And so all through Medjugorje, they have received visions of the Blessed Mother. And I think one of the things that helped to put, because people always ask them, why are you the ones who are receiving these visions? And they kind of shrug their shoulders, and I was like, we asked the same question. But I think to kind of understand the history of where they live helps to put that in perspective, and at least help me to recognize why that was, why they were chosen. I mean, Yugoslavia, which is what the country was when they were in their teens, was a communist ruled country. And there was a lot of animosity in a communist country towards Catholics. And so when they first started receiving the visions, if you read Mariana's book, her autobiography, she talks about the abuse that they endured at the hands of the communist police, mostly mental abuse. They just threatened them constantly. They said all sorts of horrible things to them if they didn't stop with the visions. This could happen, that could happen, and so on. And so, why them? I suspect because they were able to endure that kind of abuse and not reveal the secrets, and not, and then to know the civil war that occurred when the Communist Party in Yugoslavia was falling apart between the Serbs, the Croats, and what was the third group? Serbians, Croatians, and there was another group that was involved in the Civil War. And the horrible things that happened in the Civil War in the early 90s, it's just incredible. And so it makes sense to me that the Blessed Mother would choose to visit there because of all of that, to know what's going on there, and to recognize the need for her to be there. And so, so Yvonne telling us the stories of his visions and the apparitions and how that's impacted his life was a real privilege to be a part of that.